I'd like to call this meeting to order. Does anyone have any comments on the old minutes? There were no old minutes, so no more minutes. Okay, so I think we'll go ahead and go right into 409 Meadowbrook Avenue. Is there someone here to represent?
It's me.
Great. And if you have any drawings that you can put up, that would be helpful also.
I expected my builder to be here with everything. He is the one who made the appointment with me. He's not here. Did he submit the sealed plans to you?
Yeah, we got some things.
It's a one-page drawing.
Yeah, we.
I wouldn't let you come in if you didn't.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. Got pictures, it's like, good. Okay, she submitted everything.
Do you want to take mine and you can, so that you can show it on the table and people in the audience or whatever can see what we're talking about?
People in the audience.
People in the audience being three, but that's all right for two.
Before you start, sir, just state your name.
I'm Thomas Ross.
And are you the owner of the property?
I am with my wife, Reed Wickham.
Okay. Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit about the project? And then I have some questions. I don't know if anyone else does, but.
Sure. Well, it's a very simple project. There's an existing deck.
Excuse me, could you move it over so that people can see?
Sorry. I didn't realize we were so electronically.
We're very high tech. Okay.
Goes the opposite direction, you think? Yeah, so there's an existing deck where this mudroom is planned, and it's just simply a request to remove the deck and replace it with a room of the exact same size and the exact same external construction materials. Everything will be a continuation of what's there on the existing family room. We've tried very hard to catch architectural features on the cornices and the overhangs and the windows. Everything has been done on the design to mirror or match the rest of the house. We're very supportive of the whole Harb concept. And when we had a chance to do this, we, of course, wanted to try to do it right. It's a simple open space that'll have some cubbies and closets. And our friends in Europe refer to these rooms as a dog and boot room. So for us, it's going to be our dog and boot room as opposed to a mud room.
Can I put a floor drain in there?
Is there anything else I should tell you that I didn't think of?
Yeah. Just for information, the bump out in the back of your house that this is attached to, is that an addition that someone put on at one point?
It is, and it was long before our ownership. I think it was the owners before the owners before us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I have to, this has got nothing to do with your project, but I have to compliment you on your choice of colors for that house.
Thank you.
It really brings out all the right details, and
Thank you very much.
it's like about a
We
3 or
put a
4
lot of
color
work into
scheme.
that.
Oh, it's tough.
And in fact,
not
it's
any-
being touched up right now, and we're using the exact same colors. We're very pleased with it, too.
Yeah.
We scoured the entire of South Wayne and North Wayne to choose those colors, and
Mhm.
we're
Yeah.
very pleased with it.
Really
Thank you.
highlights a lot of the details.
Thank you.
I just have a couple of comments. In terms of the presentation, we usually like to see photographs of all four sides of the building so that we can get an idea of what the whole house looks like. I know that this is in the back and it's very difficult to see from, any other house. At least you can't see it from the street, and to see it from the house behind it, it's difficult. But I think that for future reference, we really would like to see photographs of every side. We had Ray, we had put out a list of photographs and plans and things.
You not have those?
Well, I have pictures of the front of the house and the back of the house. Yeah, I have a picture of the front, right, but I don't have a picture of the two sides. It just would have been helpful, because when you show the elevations, you can see what's there now and what you're doing, but,
Okay, I apologize for that. I did rely entirely on my builder and his architect to submit everything to you.
yeah, I mean, there is a list that he should be given so that he would know.
Okay.
When you go to the township. And then I just wanted to ask you one other thing. In terms of the lattice and the siding, they will be exactly the same as what's there now, or?
The siding
planning?
will be the same.
Okay,
There's currently lattice down here underneath the deck. But now that this will be a real room, that will be a foundation of cinder block and stucco that will match what is on the existing main
okay,
house.
great.
So the lattice that's currently under the deck will actually be removed and
Okay.
replaced with a proper foundation. But everything from the ground up is going to be exactly the same as. Sure. Okay.
I think your builder has just
Yeah,
come.
I'm sorry.
Oh, there he is.
Sorry,
Hi, Bob. So we've just discussed the plans,
Pretty much.
and yes,
Pretty much match what we have on the back end of the house already. Sorry, on the back,
State your name, sir,
I'm sorry, I'm Robert Consul,
and you are?
the builder.
Okay.
They have an addition already existing on the back of the house, which I believe you saw. Pretty much matching everything they have, trying to match everything what they already have, and it's a small addition. It's just trying to match up which is existing on the back of the house now, which was an addition that was done. I have no idea.
yeah, we think maybe 25 years ago.
Right. You don't see a whole lot of it from the. I mean, basically, we're going to try and match everything that they have now, which is 5/4, simulated divided light, windows, the whole 9 yards. Other than that, it's pretty basic. It's pretty simple.
The only thing we haven't mentioned is that the room is not visible from the street at all.
Right, yeah.
It's totally in the back, and there's quite a lot of trees and shrubs and so forth. And in fact, Mother Nature got us started on the project today by dropping a tree on the deck.
Really?
Yes.
I got to call my parents. Same thing.
Yes, it's
Isn't it
completely
demolition by
covered in a
neglect?
tree.
Yeah.
and it's taken down telephone
You
lines and
neglected
everything.
your trees?
Yes.
I-
So
I-
we've already started, I'm sorry.
Are you going to deduct your price for the demo, or what?
Well, including my call I got from my parents when I was, their tree fell somewhere else on their property. Yeah, no.
Costs more now to take
Yeah,
the
if
tree
you
away.
take the tree away, yeah.
Yeah,
Recommended for something
actually
now,
it
that's
is.
for sure.
You know what I mean?
Thank you.
I'm in your court. I have a question.
Sure.
Is it possible for you to make the pitch of this roof as you're looking straight back, from the back to the,
Yeah, I'm with you.
can you make that pitch be the same as the gables above it?
Well, we looked at that
No,
quite
I-
extensively.
You can't get it that
and-
high?
And we
Because the
can't.
skylight's already on that existing roof.
Yeah.
And the peak of the roof would wind up intersecting with the second floor bedroom window as well. And as Bob said, there are skylights in the roof of the family room, which
Right.
would be
The
covered.
original idea was to try to do that, but then you're involving a hip on the back end and then the cricket,
No.
and it's going to be a nightmare.
I wouldn't suggest that, but it looked like you were already pretty close to the skylight the way it is now, but I didn't see a match existing, only a verify and field kind of a
Right,
note, so.
because I'm trying to step down 2 steps so I can get a little more pitch out of the roof. So when you come out of your existing,
You are
see that
going
existing wall is only about 7'4" on this addition, with the straight shed roof coming off.
Yeah. That's low to begin with.
Yes, it's a low wall to begin with. So I'm trying to take 2 steps down, try to give me as much pitch as I possibly can, and still try to stay as close as I possibly can to the skylight, without involving it, because the original was trying to, and just putting a hip on the back end with a cricket all coming together at that skylight's a bad idea. I mean,
No, you don't want to do that.
No,
It just would be, so much better if you could get, that pitch to match up. Now, I mean, we're commenting on stuff, but this is in the back of the house,
Yeah.
not visible from the street. You're doing a lot of things with materials that are great. The windows are going to be, the light patterns are, I mean, you're doing all those things that are good, so.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, it is on the back of the house, and those skylights are there. It's,
Yeah.
And they're a great feature in the family room, too. We actually went up and covered one of the skylights to see what it would be like if we eliminated it, and it just changed the whole family room, and that's where we live.
yeah,
Plus, that's where your table is in the whole 9 yards
Yeah.
with the skylight.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And I agree with you, if it were in the front of the house, it'd be a different story.
right.
But back there, nobody's gonna see it.
We're doing the best we could to try to make it, but, yeah, to try to,
Right,
and where it's situated, so.
okay.
Is that a lap siding, or is that a shiplap?
It's actually metal siding that's
Really?
on that addition now.
Okay. And then it's shingle above.
Yeah.
So are you going to stay with metal, or you're going to go with composite? Or,
You can't get metal.
I mean, like, what are you going to do?
You're gonna do vinyl, it's gonna match the color.
Okay.
Same 4.5-inch shiplap or Dutch lap.
So it
Match the
is a
existing siding
shiplap.
in the back, yes.
Okay.
So-
And the soffits are closed soffits on that addition?
Actually, the existing soffits now are all aluminum.
Because you've got the new work running right into the old work.
Right
And
now,
how's that transition going to?
yes, I'll match them. That's
Okay.
the whole idea, is to try to match them.
Okay. Well,
Okay. Well, does anyone else have any comments?
No?
Would someone like to make a motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness?
Motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness?
Second? Okay, Cam seconds. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion is carried.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, appreciate it.
thank you. Okay, the next on the agenda is 416 St. David's Road.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. I'm Leanne McMenamin. My husband and I, Robert, own the home 416 St. David's Road. And I have, hopefully you have the photographs and the drawings and so forth, but I can put some up here if you'd like as well.
If you could do that, the audience who is not here can see that.
Problem?
The invisible audience.
Okay. Tell me. There you go. How's that? Is that
That was a twin originally, wasn't it?
correct?
You did a phenomenal job of integrating that thing.
Thank you.
Can't tell that that
Yes.
was a...
Thank you. And I have this, and then I have a schematic of what we're trying to accomplish.
Been
So-
watching it over the past couple of years, what you've been doing.
It's been a fun process, and quite honestly, this is really the last step one of the last steps in really bringing everything together. So, as you said, this home was a twin. We've lived in our side, if you will, since 2001, and in 2005 we bought the other side of the home with the intent to ultimately restore it and then bring it into like a single-family dwelling. So that's what we embarked upon through, say, 2006. Actually, I take that back, 2007, 2008. So essentially, this is one of the last things we need to do. This is, as you can tell, this is the current condition of the decks. Our hope, this is coming from our kitchen, and this is coming from our mudroom. What we'd like to do is essentially, first off, repair these decks, and then ultimately, we're planning to connect the two. So that's why I'm here this evening, is to seek the approval for the repair and for the connection of the two decks. In this photograph, these steps will go away, and the steps that will remain are just the ones that are on this side. So that's kind of what we're working with today, if you have any questions about that. Otherwise, I can show you essentially what our plan is.
Are you coming out any further than what's there now?
Essentially, where we're coming out further, and it's hard to tell from this photograph, is just to where these railroad ties are.
Mhm.
And then on the I'll call it the middle part, in the connection here, it's just going to be as wide as it is currently. And then this will be just the same size that it is now. So really the intent here is to come out to where the railroad ties are, and then we'll have enough space for some seating outside to make it a usable space for us.
I have a couple of comments. Again, like the person before, it's really helpful for us if we have photographs of the whole building.
Yes.
You know, I realize that this is in the back and it's difficult to see, but when we look at photographs of all sides, it gives us a better idea if the new construction is integrated with the house and so forth, even though it's not visible from the
Yes.
street. So that would have been helpful. And in terms of reading the site plan, it says that the covered porch is to be removed. What covered porch is that?
So if you're reading the site plan, quite honestly, I think that that's a mistake, because
Pardon?
both of these covered porches are going to stay. So I'm not certain that that's actually accurate, and I apologize for that. I'd have to pull up the site plan just for a second.
Maybe, you know, maybe they're talking about the deck and calling that a porch.
Oh, that, except
Maybe
it's
that's
not
what
on the
they're
other,
doing.
yeah, they have it on
That
both
confused
sides.
me also.
It's on both sides of it. It says covered
Yeah,
porch to be
yeah,
removed.
Yeah. Because that confused me also.
Yeah, unless they mean the deck, right?
Mm-hmm. Because I thought they meant the roof that was coming down on us.
That's what I thought too, and
Yeah.
then when you look at the drawing though, it's
Yeah.
staying.
I think that that's the correct interpretation, because clearly we're going to keep some sort of cover over top to shield from the weather and so forth. I think the more accurate statement is actually the deck that we're all talking about.
So you're not removing then any of the porches, or are you? If it's coming out further, are you keeping the existing roofs that are there now?
Yes.
Are you extending them at all, or are they just staying the way they are?
No, essentially we're not going to extend it any further.
Okay.
So it looks like you've got where the existing deck is now with a railing, you're going to make that a little deeper, then it's going to kick back and go back towards the house a little bit and run all the way to the other side. And then in the middle section, you're going to put up a trellis.
Yes, that's originally what we were thinking, and I can kind of give you a drawing of what that's going to look like. The perfect plan, to your point, is to have a trellis. These steps, those steps are gone. And essentially what you see here is that this side is a little bit larger. It's the walkway or the deck goes across the middle, and then we'll have repaired steps from here going up into our porch, or excuse me, into our mudroom.
What's the material underneath the porch? Those vertical,
Essentially, this is going to be a wood material, and I mean, I would say that it, in my terminology, it would be a bead board or just a slat wood. The other option certainly would be for us to, we have lattice in the front of our houses, just to match it with the lattice that we have on our front porch in the front. So this is just kind of conceptually where we are.
yeah, I think that probably the lattice would be more appropriate if it's on the rest of the house.
Yes.
But, you know, whether or not, if you do a vertical siding, you know, whether it's tongue and groove or if it's a V shape, we should probably, it'd be nice to know what it is, I think.
Okay.
And then in terms of the lattice, is the lattice going to be wood, or is that plastic, or some sort of man-made material, or what are you thinking about?
I mean, my vision is that it's going to be a wood lattice.
Okay. What material will the deck be?
The deck is, currently I'm looking at wood. I'm also considering a Trex type material for the boards going across.
And what about the, do you have any, are there any other porches or decks that have railings anyplace else on the house?
Yes, in fact, in the front of our home, we have a large front porch, and it has a roof over it, and we have large columns, and the facade of our home is cedar shake and stone, so it's just a large front porch. So ultimately, this railing style would match what we have in the front, short of the big columns that we have.
In terms of railing style, will the spacing of the balusters be the same? How high is the one in the front of the porch?
How high is the porch off the ground?
No, the balusters. I'm just curious because usually usually they're lower than what's allowed by code. So probably in the back it'll have to be higher.
You know, I'm not quite certain how to answer that. I mean, I can certainly get back to you on that. I mean, the porch itself is, the railing in the front of our home is pretty high. I don't know. I mean, it was not replaced. It was renovated when we renovated our home, but it's not a new porch.
And in terms of the columns, will they be wood or will they be, what will they be?
My expectation is that they'll be wood, yes.
I mean, here's another project that's in the back, totally unseen by the front.
Yeah.
We're giving recommendations based on just your recommendations. You know, I think it would have, it's going to be to your benefit to do a better railing than what's shown here. And I think you're saying you're going to do that. You know, I don't think it's anything we can mandate.
No.
So I think the lattice would be a better choice for ventilation and for historic.
And I think you're right. And these
connection.
plans we did a long time ago, and now that the project is done and we have a chance to kind of step back and see how everything comes together holistically, I agree with you absolutely that the lattice is more in keeping with the current style of the home.
You know, and if there was a way to save and show those stone foundations, that would be another plus.
This
But,
will be saved, yes.
you know, and that would be shown somehow. You know, I mean, it looks like if you're not coming out any further, you could certainly save them.
Correct.
If you're coming out further, they're going to get eaten out probably. But
And you're absolutely right. That would be saved because it's really the foundation of our home. So, and to your point, we're not coming out any further. So
okay, so
that'll
would
be able to
see-
be salvaged.
Does the other side have stone behind the ivy? Under that deck? Do you know?
Yes, it does. You know what? I can't say that with certainty. I think it does on some level because at the corner of the home, and right now there's some, as you saw from the other picture, it's kind of, yes, I will say that there is stone under there because if you look at the other side, there's stone.
I mean, that's going to just make it a more rich composition if you have, you know, stone corners and
Yes.
and then you fill it in with the I mean, it's going to look really nice.
Right.
Yeah.
If you can somehow manage that.
I'm hopeful that we can salvage some of the stones here. Some of them aren't in the greatest conditions. As you can see, there's a brick there. But we've been able to actually, because we had 2 front doors and essentially 2 of everything, we salvaged some of the stone that we had taken away from one area of the home. And actually, in the front of our house, we have, where our front door used to be, we had a mason come in and actually use our reclaimed stone and make that in keeping with the facade rather than trying to match it because it's a window and the stone. So where our front door is all stone from our home. Originally we were thinking cedar shake, but then we had the option to salvage some of our stone. So I agree with everything you've said related to that.
You can't tell that, your mason did a wonderful job with
Thank
that.
you.
I mean, you can't tell that there was a door there.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, he matched everything perfectly.
Yes, he did.
That's hard to do.
It
Yeah.
is. He did a great
I was really
job.
enthralled with that.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you really did a good job. I think the design is, at least in the drawing, is attractive, and it certainly unifies
Mhm.
everything.
And that's really been our intent here, is just to make the house, like bring it back to its glory. It was built in 1906, and we love it. And it was a long project, but a fun project. And ultimately, it's our home. So I'm anxious to have this really wrap it up, because then the rest of our yard and our gardens and so forth can really start to come together.
Yeah. I mean, my only concern really is that because we have so little information about what it will be, you know, it's sort of hard to make decisions on that. But after what you're telling us, if you do what you're telling us, it sounds like it'll be a great project. I don't know. How do you guys feel about it?
Well, I'm giving the owners the benefit of the
I mean, it's
doubt.
in the back of the house, and so, you know, you're not going to
Yes.
see it.
Yeah. But
But-
If this was a visible addition, we would probably have to say come back,
Okay?
just because there's not enough information. And for us to say, put all these conditions on it, you know, it'd be easier
Yes.
for you just to, you know, resubmit. And we
Yes.
usually do that as an informal thing, where you email it out and we get it and we say, yeah, everything's fine, or, man, you really should come back. You know, it's kind of that routine.
Okay.
But since it's on the back,
Yeah,
that changes things a little bit, but we still should talk, you know, get a little bit more information on that.
yeah.
Well, I think my feeling is I've watched this project proceed over the past number of years, and I think anyone putting that type of care into a renovation like they did, it's not going to skimp when you get to the back. So you're taking this on trust. I mean, there's no question about this at this point, you know. And I think if it was a different circumstance, I probably want more information, and I could cite a number of projects that we've seen here where that was necessary. But I think in this instance, what they gave us right now looks, you know, I think the disagreement we have right now is like, what are the materials? And, you know, it's, again, going back to four faces of the house, which was totally redone. They did a wonderful job with this. So, I'm basing it on trust.
I
More than anything.
agree with you
Thank you.
that, you know, you guys did a really beautiful job, but I would feel more comfortable if you could write down, and put it in writing, and maybe email us, you know, that we would approve the project. But I feel like there needs to be a record, especially since we don't have any minutes now. I
Yeah,
feel that
we
we
definitely need to have a record.
we need to have a record of, you know, just for us and for if anyone questions it, knowing what the materials will be.
Okay.
If it were the front of the house, as Cam said, you know, we probably would want a detail of the railing and the spacing and the baluster and that sort of thing.
Sectionals and stuff.
You know, so if you had anything like that, that would be great. If you don't, that's okay, because it's the back of the house again, but.
So just in terms of that railing style, you're
Well,
asking,
yeah,
or-
you know, the height and the spacing of the balusters, I think.
Are they square, are they turned, are they, you know,
I
those
have-
kinds of things?
Quite honestly, I have a brochure here of the style. I mean, my intent was, in the front of our house, we have, you know, again, just so I'm clear, we're all speaking the same language, certain balusters, and my intent would be to match them. When you ask in term, I mean, that's just common sense. When you ask in terms of the materials that we would be using, you know, ultimately, and perhaps this is your point, but ultimately we're looking at wood and we're looking at Trex materials. And when I say Trex or composite type of materials,
Yeah.
Right, right,
because
right.
there is a lot of wear and tear, as we all know, on outside uncovered porches.
What exposure is this?
It is, I'd say southern, because I just am thinking about the size of it. I'm pretty sure that it's southern. I might be.
Southern.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm not ultimately, we have to also look at our budget for that and say, is it going to be Trex or is it going to be wood? Down the road, if we have to replace it in the long run,
Yeah.
it might make sense to go with a other type of material. So, but I can't give you an answer on what that is right now because we're looking at that. And I'm not trying not to answer your
No,
question.
that's fine.
Um,
I just think, if you could write that down, because
Okay.
Trex in the back of the house is, I think, fine.
Right.
But
right.
just so that we have a record of what it is.
Sure.
Because the other thing is that, when we look at these projects, we look at them on an individual basis, but it also sets precedent for other
Oh,
projects.
Yes, I
And
understand that.
that's why that's why I think that we should have a record of as much as you can tell us, especially about the materials.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. The materials, the railings, the spacing, the height. Is there anything else that needs to be addressed?
I think, if you could just say that you will try and keep the stone or whatever,
Sure.
what your intentions are with that.
Okay.
And also the lattice, or
Yeah.
if you know,
Well, I think the lattice is a simple change from
Yeah.
what we've just discussed about, and having lived there now for a year and a half, you kind of think one way when you're doing
Yeah.
it and differently when you've lived there and see what it looks like.
I mean, the fact is that you have to live with it,
Yes.
and you've done a beautiful job on the rest of the house. So,
We've worked very hard to do that, and much to your point, it certainly would not be something that where we would just ultimately drop the ball on the back of our house. I
Yeah.
mean, there's many reasons why. I think because we've worked hard to maintain the home and really ultimately upgrade our neighborhood by making it a one home instead of two. Secondly, we have lovely neighbors on both sides of us that we all live very close to each other. They don't want to look on at an eyesore as well. So we're very, very mindful of all of those points. So, I mean, certainly I'm more than happy to do this. I guess my question for you is, then does someone respond to me and tell me that our project is approved and from a consistency standpoint and we're ready to move forward? We've been working at this a long time,
Yeah.
and quite honestly, I'm anxious to
start.
wrap it up.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, can we approve it,
We can approve it with condition that we get this information.
that we get the information, and then as soon as we get that information, we'll just email.
And we circulate it around, everybody says yay, and then you'll get a message back that
Okay.
says,
Yeah, I mean, if,
Final.
yeah, because if you sent it to us tomorrow, you could get a message on Monday.
okay, that would be great.
I mean, we want to do it as quickly as possible,
Oh,
too. We
sure.
don't want to hold you up. And again, it really is for the record. It's not that we don't trust you or anything like that. It's just in terms of how we're trying to, get the information. And as I said, because we don't have minutes, it's even more of an
I
issue.
understand you absolutely kind of need to set a precedent here and so
Yeah.
forth. My last question is, will I find all of your emails on the website, or how do I obtain that information?
we do it just to Ray.
I think we'll just send them all to Ray, and then Ray can just email you saying we've received everything and it's fine.
Okay,
Yeah, one contact for you,
that would be great.
which is Ray
Okay.
Daly, and you can get his
Perfect.
Oh,
info.
wait, he's shaking his head.
No?
No?
You don't want it?
Can't do it.
Who does it? Just us?
We either approve it or we don't approve it. No conditions. Remember, we don't have secretaries and staff now to go back and forth with this. It's
So we would have to do that if
the
we,
board, right.
okay.
And I don't even like that because it runs into an issue. It even runs into an issue where if one or two don't answer, and this goes in front of the commissioners, now does it wait another 30 days before it gets approved, before the certificate of appropriateness gets approved? So the whole idea here is to approve this or not approve it, or ask them to come back. A lot of conditions back and forth is, again, staff time is very limited. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to be honest here.
No, it's fine. I mean, if that's how we have to operate, can we operate within ourselves to do that?
Well, can we approve it and then, you know, I mean, do we feel comfortable enough approving it because it's on the back of the house, and then trust that you'll send us an email,
I would
you know,
absolutely
just
send you
saying what
an
everything
email.
is done? I mean, I would feel really uncomfortable if it were on any visible or significant architecturally, I don't know, significant part of the house. I mean, it is architecturally
certainly
significant,
visible
but it's,
from the
but it's
public
not
visible.
visible. Yeah, it's not visible from any area. I mean,
I'm more than willing to commit right here that I would send all of you and even your colleagues that aren't here an email detailing some of your questions. I'm happy to do that if that's something that would help.
how do you feel about that?
Say, what are we doing now?
Well,
Let's give a letter.
either we approve it or we don't approve it. If we don't approve it, then
Yeah,
she has
yeah,
to
yeah,
wait,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
30 days.
Well, I think we have to approve it because we've discussed it, we have a comfort level, it is non-visible,
Yeah,
and those are criteria, period. Anything else we get is part of our record.
right.
And it can't go through them because they can't deal with, you
Mhm.
know, all that stuff, so. For our benefit and for our minutes, could you supply that?
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll give you all the,
We'll give
or
you,
you give us an email, we'll shoot you all the contact
Okay,
info.
yeah, that's right. Just leave an email so
okay.
that we can keep going with the
With us.
meeting, and
Can I
then
give it to
we'll all
you?
contact
She'll need a
you.
contact person.
Yeah, well, you're
Okay,
acting
yeah,
head
you
to
can, you
head.
can,
Then
you can
forward it,
contact
yeah.
me,
Okay.
yeah.
And so just so I'm clear, how am I?
Just leave your email
Okay,
with me. I'll contact you tonight. I'll send you an
Very
email
good.
with our email
Perfect.
addresses, and
great.
then you can just email.
Okay, that would be super.
Okay. All right, well, in that case then, would anyone like to make a motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness?
Motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness?
Second?
Okay. Motion is approved.
Very good, and I'll give you my email. Just write it on a piece of paper.
Okay, good, yeah. All right,
Thanks very much.
thank you very much. It looks like a good project.
Thank you.
Okay, the next on the list is old business, which is 238 Walnut Avenue. It was a barn demolition that came before us in the spring. So if you could come up and tell us what is going on, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Marshall, and I live at 228 Walnut Avenue. I don't know if the camera can get in any closer on the plan I have here, but it's a little better. I appeared before Harb at the May 6th meeting. My application at that time was continued. And I'll just give you a little background if you don't remember. I have what I would say is a 1950s single-story ranch house that sits probably about 125 feet off of Walnut Avenue in a very historic area of the township. Unfortunately, we don't live in one of those structures. We live in a modern house that happens to have what we think might be an 1810 barn in that era that was originally subdivided off of a property that fronts on Radnor Street Road. Our application was initially, I guess, initiated by the fact that the barn is now coming up on 100 years. It's still standing, but it's in very poor condition. Particularly the sills are starting to wear out. And we'd like to get Harb's permission and have the barn demolished this spring. And what we do is try to maintain as much of the existing structure or timbers from the existing structure and some of the architectural elements, integrate that into a patio area. There's a concrete floor existing. We'd probably put pavers or flagstone over the concrete slab and just create basically an outdoor patio area where the barn foundation currently exists. So at the time of the application, I was asked to, I guess, have a cooling off period for 6 months to determine whether if the Harb or any other agency could find a taker for the barn. That has not occurred, and therefore we'd like to get a letter granting the Board of Commissioners approval to demolish the structure.
Did you actively go out and approach, for example, the neighbor whose house the barn was originally built for? Did you, I mean, you did have 6 months, but what were the, did you make, what were your efforts in terms of trying to?
Can you hear me through this mic?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you recall at the last meeting, and Beverly, who's not here right now, was going to try to post some of the photographs that we provided of the barn to the Delaware County Historical Association and see if any of their members might be interested in coming and dismantling the barn and taking it off the property. That had not occurred. We also had talked fairly casually with some members of the Radnor Conservancy to see if they'd like the barn for the new garden, vegetable garden at the Willows. That really didn't come to any meaningful end. We have not approached our neighbors because essentially the way that the property was subdivided, the property line, if you see to the east, is right up to the back of our neighbor's house. Essentially, on the property line is their existing garage and a driveway, and then the back of their home. So candidly, I just don't think there's a place on their property large enough to accommodate the barn. In its current condition, and I've had a contractor look at it, the assessment is that it would actually probably cost less, and it would create a better structure to build or try to replicate it from the ground up. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think members of the Harb actually had an opportunity to tour the property and look at the
Yeah, we did.
condition of the barn.
We did.
What's your timetable now?
Our preference would be to wait until the ground freezes in January or February, and then have the demolition crews come in when we have a harder surface to operate the equipment, and hope to start landscaping the patio area sometime in the spring.
I know I contacted a couple people. I was unsuccessful. I know you had been involved too, Matt, and Beverly was doing some things. So
Yeah.
we sort of are at the end of
The end of our lead.
what we've tried.
Yeah.
And we did give this applicant the condition that if we didn't do this
Right.
by November,
Right.
we have every right to take
Yeah.
care of this.
Yeah, so it's basically just a month early.
So-
Yeah, it did come before you a month early. I think initially the extension of time was until November 5th. I have a letter here from Bob Loper that says November 5th, and then the commissioners I guess, would approve on their meeting in November 24th. And I'm willing to wait, if we want to give it another 6 weeks. Barn's not going anywhere if we think we
Well,
might
I
be
mean,
able to find
I
another
think that
taker.
if you're not doing the demolition until January, it's
Yeah,
kind of
isn't that
moot
point?
anyway. I don't think we need to do
I
that.
think that'd be, if we, I think we need to just say this is
Yeah.
this is what has to happen, it's agreed upon. If you're not going to do it until February, if we were able to find somebody between now and February, and it got off your property before February, could that still happen?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, they would have to be qualified at demolition and,
Right.
have the proper insurance, but if you can find someone,
Okay.
we'll give it as long as it takes. I would rather see it go somewhere else and be reused. And we will try to incorporate some of the, there's a hayloft which has a very interesting door on the second story. So if we can keep some of those features and incorporate them into the patio area, we'll try to do that. But yes, I would,
Okay.
certainly wait.
And it's basically the size of a one-car garage, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
It's a little longer.
Yeah, about 1.5.
one and a half, yeah.
Yeah. The way it's situated, though, it wouldn't lend itself to being converted to a garage because we really can't get to it unless we, paved a driveway over our front
Yeah.
yard.
I mean, if someone else were to take that building, they could make, though, a one-and-a-half-car garage out of it.
Absolutely.
Or they could add
absolutely.
on to it or something
Yeah.
to make it.
Yeah, and I've had some casual inquiries from neighbors, but it's just a very difficult structure to take down and rebuild. It's it's a half the size of a house, so it's not something that you could easily do.
Yeah. Okay, well, with regret,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to see it go. But I think that, you've made efforts, and Beverly certainly has. So
I think
shall
we
we go ahead and approve a certificate? What would it be, a certificate of demolition? Is that what it's called? What is it called? Anyway,
Well, it's still a certificate of appropriateness to demolish.
okay.
I
it's-
guess it's kind of how you,
Okay, so a certificate of appropriate to demolish. Would anyone like to make a motion that the certificate of appropriateness for the barn demolition is approved?
Yep. Motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the demolition of the barn on said property.
Okay, second?
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved.
Okay. Is there any further action with the commissioners? Do they have to approve the demolition?
Well, this is a recommendation to the commissioners.
They'll actually approve it at the next meeting.
At the next meeting? Okay. Okay. And if there's anything, that comes up between now and
Yeah.
February, let me know.
the other thing I would ask is if all this fails, would you allow us to come survey and make drawings of as-bills just for record?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think I have a couple blueprints, too, that I can give you,
Okay,
originals.
Hmm.
Okay, okay,
thank you.
Good.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for all your patience and hanging out.
Okay, is there any new business?
Oh, okay.
Do you have
Yeah.
any new business?
Right. I think we should put together a small little one-page form, so when we go through the approval process, it'll state on the form the applicant, that we approved or not approved, and the conditions that we approved under
And that would be for every
for every,
project that we
Every
approve,
applicant.
for every applicant?
correct. Some
Okay.
cases, there'll be no conditions.
Okay, and if we have that form, then would you be willing to draft it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you draft it,
And then we could give
can
that to
have-
Ray at the
Oh.
end of at the meeting.
Ray, would you be willing to fill that out at the meeting? Or
Oh, we could
why
fill
don't
it out.
we
We'll
could
fill it out. We'll fill it
We'll
out.
all fill it out.
No, we'll fill it out, yeah.
Okay. I think that's a good idea.
And then we could actually, then we could spend the time with the actual wording of all of the conditions. And at least we'll all, at least each of us will have a record. Because I forget half the conditions we put on these things.
Yeah, we
Over
definitely need to
time.
get that harder,
Huh?
Yeah.
harder set.
I think that's a good idea.
Yep.
I think we should do that. Okay. Well, John, if you can draft it, maybe
Yeah.
we can have it for the next meeting. If you can, maybe you should just email
I'll
it to
just
all of
email it,
us.
yeah,
and We
yeah,
can make
yeah.
comments on it
Yeah.
and so forth.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. Anything else?
No pride of authorship. I mean, just change as necessary.
Just your picture on the front.
Right. Right.
Okay.
I think that's, I
Okay,
don't
is
I don't
any-
have anything new.
Anything else?
That's about it.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Oh, one question. Ray, you were saying we approve or disapprove. You mentioned things about conditions. Now, we're talking up here about putting,
So you're saying no conditions, but we can still use the form and we can
yeah,
write down, if something is not approved, we'll know why it's not approved. And when they come back, we'll know what we were asking them to do.
mhm.
And this also becomes kind of a minutes
Mhm.
opportunity too.
Yeah, and it also means that, like tonight, rather than have the applicant send us an email with what her materials will be, we could fill it out right now. And so it would change,
Yeah, this is a good example. You would put down probably subject to a letter stating various materials that are recommended, et cetera, and if somebody picks that up and doesn't see that letter appended to it, then there's a red flag that goes up.
Now, is this just for us, or would a copy of this go to the township also?
I think it should go to the township, to the inspectors.
Ray,
I think he wants to talk about this.
Yeah,
you want
yeah.
to, get back to us?
Afterwards.
Okay, All right.
Afterwards.
okay,
So we should,
Okay.
okay. Motion to adjourn?
Second?
hit it.